Howdy, folks. This is Dr. Richard Owen. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. Welcome back or welcome aboard. We are glad to have you. I am joined this evening by a full crew. Say hello.
Hi, folks. How y'all doing?
Yes, I'm a surefire and...
Uncle Bocce. Hello, everybody.
Uncle Bocce, the Doc Owen Show historian, is in the house. Jam-packed show tonight. Lots to do, lots to cover. First of which is our, you need to know we're all over the social media, predominantly on Facebook and Twitter. By far the best place to follow the activity, the action, what's going on, and etc. All as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. No magic to the spelling, just all one word. You can find us out that way, and we would love to have you. We will start in our traditional manner with a bit of inspirational quote from Ms. Surefire, followed by a little leadership, and then on to the rest of it. Take it away, Ms. Surefire.
Tonight's quote comes from inspirationaldaily.com, and it's from a person by the name, actually it's a pen name, George Eliot. Actually, the English novelist, poet, and one of the leading writers of the Victorian era, real name was Mary Ann Evans.
And she went by George Eliot.
She did, because she wanted, back in the day, you know, it's kind of hard.
Female couldn't get a break.
Wanted for her works to be taken seriously.
Interesting.
Yeah. So her quote is, "It is never too late to be what you might have been."
Amen. That's
okay.
Good.
Amen. And our leadership quote, again, is from our friends at Crowned Grace International. You can look them up. They got a great website, blog, etc. This one is a quote from a fellow by the name of Mr. Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, who is an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, author, talks about leadership, sales advancement, that sort of thing. He's what we affectionately call in the business a hey, rah kind of guy. He said, "Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day."
I like that.
All right.
That's a good one.
So, one day at a time.
That's right.
We've got a very interesting guest for you tonight. It'll be on with us, a gentleman by the name of Pastor Greg Locke. This will give you a few minutes to go out to YouTube, if you wish. If you didn't look at the Facebook page and do the link to get a little background information on Pastor Greg, you can do that simultaneously while you're listening to Uncle Bocce bring us up to date on a little bit of history about this country we call the United States, before it was the United States. Before I turn it over to Uncle Bocce, I got a couple of things that I'd like to bring to your attention, if you don't mind. One of them is one of our friends, as you know, that we have on the show every once in a while, a fellow by the name of Jim Gibson, who is with the Texas Border Volunteers. And he sent us forward an article about the Texas criminal alien arrest data. And it is straight from the state of Texas, from a website there. According to DHS status indicators, Department of Homeland Security, over 193,000 criminal aliens have been booked into local Texas jails between June 1st, 2011 and May 31st, 2016. Okay?
Wow.
5 years. 193,000 booked into Texas jails. Think about that, folks. Those are only the ones they caught, and that's only in Texas.
Yeah.
All right. They were charged with more than 514,000 criminal offenses. Goes on to cite the offenses and how many of each kind, etc. What I would like for the audience to know is just the size of the problem. Mm-hmm. Over 128,000, or approximately 66%, were identified by DHS status as being in the U.S. illegally at the time of their last arrest. And this does not go into the fact if they've been arrested in multiple states or, they've they're causing trouble somewhere else. These are just the ones that came through the Texas system.
Wow.
Okay? Pretty scary.
Yes, sir.
Another thing that is kind of to me, it's a note of amusement. But by the same token, it should be a note of alarm. It seems that our Congress, very quietly, very, very quietly, is attempting to implement a bill that will create the United States Ministry of Truth. A lot of the audience will not remember a fellow by the name of Baghdad Bob, who was the Minister of Truth for Saddam Hussein, who famously stood in the town square in the center of Baghdad and told the citizens to completely ignore the American tanks that were on the outside of town, that it was a myth, that it was an illusion, that Iraq was kicking butt and winning the war. He was their minister of truth.
I remember that.
So it says its lack of fanfare appropriate given the bill's equally subtle language. As with any legislation attempting to dodge the public spotlight, this one is being called the Countering Foreign Propaganda and Disinformation Act of 2016. Makes a further curtailment of press freedom another avenue to stultify avenues of accurate information. All the more reason you should be listening to the Doc Owen Show and similar outlets via alternate media. And all the more reason, and I tweeted, when I saw this, I tweeted the fact that the slot was already taken, the Doc Owen Show delivers truth to youth, so we have a minister of truth.
Right. There you go.
That's right.
I couldn't. This really did kind of scare me. Fellow about Senator Rob Portman said the legislation represents a dramatic return to Cold War era government propaganda battles between us and foreign nations. But then it could also be used to turn around and work on its own citizens if they decided, as they did with the Tea Party, if they if they don't like the dissent that's beginning to bubble up via a.k.a. internet radio, boom, hammer comes down.
Yeah, with the current Congress, you know that there will be no truth involved.
Yes. Whatever they say, it's exactly the opposite.
Exactly. The Affordable Care Act,
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so now that you're warmed up, Uncle Bocce,
yes, sir.
Would you take us through a bit of history, please?
I sure will.
Thank you.
We are going to finish off California tonight.
Good. It's about time.
Yeah.
Oh, you may just finish off talking about it.
Yeah. Oh. This isn't going to hurt, and it's not going to take too long. We left off last time with the growth in California had a huge population of over 100,000, and that was due to the California gold rush. And just prior to that, Californians decided to hand over government control to the United States. So there was the gold rush.
What do you mean? What do you mean hand over government control?
If you remember last time, we talked about California becoming a republic.
Yes.
Because they didn't want anything more to do with Mexico. So they declared themselves a republic. It lasted for 26 days before they accepted U.S. government control. That's where we ended up.
Now I remember.
Now you got it?
Now I remember.
Yeah.
26 days.
Okay.
They needed those welfare checks.
So then California actually became a state in 1850. It became the 31st state. Now, just to go down, to bring it up to current history, we're going to look at a couple of dates here. 1869, the first westbound train arrived in San Francisco. So the beginning of the industrial age with the locomotives. Okay.
How far could it go?
It can only go to San Francisco.
Well, you said it was
It's
westbound
cross country.
train.
Yeah.
It came
Right.
from the east.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it came from the east, and it was in San Francisco. Then in 1882, Congress passed, and wait till you hear this, passed the Chinese Exclusion Act barring all Chinese immigration. So
What year was that?
That was in 1882. So now
There's
we've got
not any chance that's still in effect.
no, I'm sure that it's not. But Donald Trump is talking about doing the same kind of thing with a different kind of people, right? Okay, so California did it first.
I'm reserving my comment to articles later.
Okay. And then in 1900, a wonderful thing happened in California. They discovered oil. And that brought more and more people to California. That was the turn of the century in 1900. And then everybody remembers 1906, the great San Francisco earthquake. Actually killed more than 3,000 people. It left 225,000 people homeless. And that's going back to 1906. You know, I mean, I don't know what the population was of San Francisco, but it couldn't be much more than that. Now, you remember Ellis Island in New York was the entry point for a lot of European,
Yes.
European and other coming to the United States. Well, little known item here is that California had its own. It opened in 1910. It was called Angel Island, and it was the entry point for U.S. immigrants coming, from the west, okay, or from the east to the west. So that was Angel Island. Then in 1942, here's another thing, another pock on the American history is, remember the Japanese Americans?
Yeah, I remember.
World War II?
Yeah, we
Okay.
rounded all of them up.
U.S. concentration camps, and a Japanese submarine actually shelled an oil field in California.
Yeah, that was a bit of hysteria that we don't need to be proud of.
No, exactly.
But-
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and
You're in the 1900s.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm just bringing us up to
You-
today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just
As
to
opposed-
finish off California.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Waiting for that big earthquake so it slides into the sea, right? Sorry, Californians. Just take that as a light joke. And then the United Nations, which we know is headquartered in New York City,
Right.
but it was actually started in San Francisco in 1945. The signing of the charter for the United Nations was in San Francisco. And then the last item, in 1992, California became the first state to elect 2 women to the U.S. Senate. Can you guess who they are?
Yeah, I don't have to guess. I know who.
Yeah, because they still are.
Yeah.
Okay, they're still there.
Yeah.
Barbara Boxer
And they're doing
and Dianne Feinstein,
and
two
they're
of
doing
the
a-
biggest liars.
Fabulous. Job.
Oh, gee whiz, I can't imagine. But then we know California is not exactly a conservative state.
No, not at all. I lived there
So
too.
that brings us to a conclusion with California. Go ahead.
Isn't the lady that was the Speaker of the House as a Democrat also from California?
Yes, Nancy Pelosi. She's from San Francisco.
But she was not part of the 1992 election.
That's correct.
She's
She
been
came
there
later.
since 1902.
Well, yeah, probably. You would
had a lot of
think.
Beverly Hills plastic surgery. Probably so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
that brings us
That's
to
it?
California.
So
That's it
so
for
we're-
California.
So we're done with California.
We are.
Are we done with
Now-
now? What are we going to do next
Now,
week?
next week, we're going to start our series on Texas, which, of course, was originally a Spanish possession.
Okay.
So we're going to start on Texas, and we're going to go through the history of Texas. So,
Okay. This is just it's just a 1 hour show. I mean, so in
Yeah.
2018 or 2019, we'll move out of Texas.
No. Yeah, I know Texas history is very large, but we'll just hit the high points.
Okay.
Talk about the missions a little bit,
But
we won't.
what we've done is we've left the United States before it was a United States
Yeah.
theme. Is
Right.
what you're telling me.
Right. Yeah, and after Texas, we'll finish off with the other foreign powers France, Sweden, all. We'll just finish off with those real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to the original colonies, the 13 colonies.
Right.
And we'll start building up from there to the revolution.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
we'll get back on track.
Well, it wasn't so much being on track. I just wanted to make sure I understood what your thought process was, so the audience could follow.
Sure.
It's the foreign authorities that sort of made you move around what we know as the United States.
What we know today.
So you went through England, you went through France, you went through Spain, or you went through Spain and then France, and then came around to the West Coast, which was
Correct.
Mexican influenced. Okay.
Right.
I got
right.
you. Now
Okay.
I see your logic.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Uncle
Okay.
Bocce.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you.
Tell them where to find you, Bucky.
You can find me usually at home asleep, but no, you can find me or talk to me through email at Uncle Bocce, UNCLEBACI at DocOwenShow.com. Things are revving up here. We're getting really excited. So come on, guys.
Yeah.
Let me hear from you.
Get involved.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas.
Call 1-800-352-3127. Again, 1-800-352-3127. A fee-based company.
Howdy, folks. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. Welcome back or welcome aboard. We are on a roll. You're about to hear a conversation that I had with a gentleman by the name of Pastor Greg Locke. I reached out to Pastor Locke as a result of seeing one of his YouTube videos flash across my Facebook page. And as is our policy of delivering truth to youth, Pastor Locke personifies that. He is actually 40 years old, you'll find out in the interview, and he is a dynamo of energy. I think you will enjoy it. I know I enjoyed conducting it. So listen up, pay attention. Here's Pastor Greg Locke. I'll let you know on the air kind of where I found out about you. I'm not sure where I stumbled onto you, but I certainly am glad that I did. So
yeah, awesome.
let me do the formal thing. We are about to have a conversation with a young man by the name of Pastor Greg Locke, and Mr. Locke is out of Tennessee. And in case you're not aware, as Texans you should be, if it weren't for our friends from Tennessee, Texas would not exist. Is what they like to say, because we had so many of them here helping us fight the battle when we were formed. So, Pastor Greg, say hello.
Hello, my friend. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I am glad to do it. Pastor Greg, I forgot to mention, is the lead pastor, I think is his official title, for the Global Vision Bible Church up in eastern Tennessee, just a little bit east of Nashville. And what is it, Mount Juliet? Is that right?
Yep, Mount Juliet, sure is.
There you go. I did some work for the TVA up in Cookeville, so I know kind of where you are. Plus, I was born in Memphis. I wanted my young audience, which my target is kind of the millennials. I don't discriminate, but that's who I like to try to communicate with, to get to know you a little bit. Simply because, and like I told you before we really started the recording, I'm not sure where I ran across you or how I got exposed to you, other than the fact that I think it was on a Facebook page, and I clicked on the video that you did about gun control and gun confiscation, and that has led me to be a subscriber and a bit of a follower, just to tell you. Gang, this guy is so on it and so animated, and just, I can't imagine the fact that that you have a still moment in your waking day. I don't see you sitting on the porch and petting the dog,
You're right about that.
So, do you mind if I mean, I'm 71 years old. I'll lay mine out there. How old are you? Are you in your mid-30s, late 30s? Where are you?
I just turned 40 last week.
You carry it very, very well.
Thank you so much.
And I noticed in one of the videos you did with Pastor Green, I think his name is, that you mentioned being a basketball player when you were growing up. So I did the same thing, and those are always fond memories to me. I got a feeling they were for you, too.
Indeed. Yeah, I've never been much on sports, but I try.
That's what counts. As we know, that's what counts. So tell me about I read a little bit of your bio on your internet site, which is very well done. Looks like you got a good, solid crew standing around you.
Yeah, we do.
What brought you to this, Pastor Greg? I know from that video I watched with Pastor Green, you were talking about going downtown to a church, and it was one of those 2 nights in a row, bam, sort of deals where
right.
you seem to get a pretty good vision for what you needed to do the rest of your life. But then you traveled all over the world as an evangelist, and tell me how that works. Tell the audience what that means. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people, they think because I'm a pastor that maybe I was raised in a pastor's home, but really nothing could be further from the truth. My dad was in prison for years, and I had just a real sketchy home life. And so when I was almost 17, I had my final conviction. I had been from 11 to 16. I'd been arrested 6 times and on probation 5 times. Just
Get out of here.
Silly juvenile mess and dope and everything else. So finally, just in God's providence, the children's home that I went to was a Bible-based children's home. The state sent me there, and like you said, I went, and then about 10 days later, they took me to a youth revival, and that's where I trusted Christ. I'd heard the message of the Bible and the gospel before.
That's the bus you were talking about taking to the event. Okay.
And that's it, yeah. And so, I just wanted to do my own thing, but, man, something about that first night made me mad. The second night moved me just to conviction, and so I made a decision that night. And then really, once my year was up, I was on probation for that first year, even after I was called to preach. I tell people I was probably the only probation preacher they've ever met. And so after probation was up, I stayed.
I doubt that's true. You might be the first one to admit it. But
there you go. That's exactly right. So I stayed for 4 years, and I met my wife there. And matter of fact, today we celebrate our 20-year wedding anniversary. We're going out tonight. So, so God's done some crazy stuff in my life. I went off to seminary in North Carolina and traveled literally the world. We held revival meetings in 45 countries, 45 states, 15 countries. And then when I was...
And you were married all this time, weren't you?
Yeah, I got married when I was 20 years old. That's what's crazy about it.
Not just married, 3 boys and a daughter.
I got married.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Your mama told you had to be what, 20?
She told me I had to be 20, so I turned 20 May the 18th. I got married May 25th.
It's amazing how we listen to our mamas. I get that. I get that joke, sir.
And I still listen because she is an upstanding member of our church, and I'm still a mama's boy at 40 years old.
You're a lucky man.
Yeah. So we traveled all over, and so then when I was 30, 10 years ago, we came off the road full time. I still travel a lot, but
right.
We came off the road full time, and I started the church from scratch. We didn't have a building, we didn't have people, we didn't have a name, we didn't have nothing. And we started the church, and then just little by little, it began to grow. And now, because of our Facebook exposure and the platform of YouTube and all of that,
yes, sir,
it has just exploded. And we're adding services as quick as we can, and so it's been an interesting journey. But people, for some reason, they love some of those videos that we put out there, and it just really resonates. They're just common sense videos, and I think we've lost touch with common sense in America.
Well, we are definitely on the same page. Or I wouldn't be such a fan of yours.
Sure.
It's one of those things where I sort of regret that I didn't have the same gumption that you have at your age, because I was feeling it but not doing anything about it. As one of your videos said, it was that short little clip that you did in an automobile somewhere, where this is the video where I'm going to say all the things that everybody else is kind of afraid to say. And
I got you.
You know the one I'm talking about. And
oh yeah,
it's just you definitely have a gift, and and God bless you for using it, and not hiding it under a bushel basket and all of that jazz. I totally wish I had as much command of the Scripture as you do, and I'm very impressed with it. And you're using it for good, which is a really cool thing.
Amen. Yes, sir.
I mean, I can't tell you enough. But what exactly? I mean, I'm struggling with the questions because you're so animated.
Okay.
You're so animated that I wish people could see you, because I know you're not just sitting there, twiddling your thumbs.
No, I'm walking around.
I bet you. Absolutely, I love it. I'll catch my breath and tell everybody it's one G, right? GREG LOCKE. Is that right?
Got it.
If you want to go out and look him up, go into YouTube and do a search on Greg Locke, LOCKE, and watch some of his videos. I guarantee you will be hooked, which is a good thing. So what's next? I mean, do I put you? I'm reluctant to do this, but it helps other folks.
Sure.
I don't like categorizing. I don't like putting people into little buckets. Is your church? Is it? I'm sure it's non-denominational, and kind of an evangelical. Do I put it on the same plane as a Joel Osteen, or is that the direction that you're going in terms of trying to spread the word? And only do that because we're here in Texas, and most people are familiar with the Houston operation. And he's a big name, so.
Yeah, he is, no doubt about it.
But I don't do it to offend.
We are a non-denominational church, a Bible church, and so I'm very biblically oriented, and so
yes, sir.
Apart from the video clips, I mean, like when I'm at my church, I'm preaching word by word, line by line. We're taking months, and I'm preaching through every verse of a book of the Bible, and so our people really like that type of a ministry.
Okay.
And so we're very, as you say, commanding of the Scriptures. We figure if we're going to preach the Bible, it needs to come out of the Bible, and so we use the Word a lot. I wouldn't necessarily say we're along the same lines as Joel Osteen.
Okay.
I like Joel. He's a nice, happy-go-lucky guy. We would be a little bit maybe less motivational, he's a commanding speaker.
Yep.
He's funny. He's very good at what he does. But we would be a little bit more perhaps on the doctrinal side of things. He would be more of the encourager and the motivator.
Yes,
I would be a little bit, let's get bold and shake people up type of a guy.
Okay.
and that works for us. And we're growing because of that. And so I'm not real sure, where the Lord is going to take us next. But he has given us, it is humbling to see every day. The platform that we have for these videos, it is absolutely amazing. There is nowhere I go. As a matter of fact, we just, 5 minutes before I called you, we checked into a hotel that I've never been to, and it's because it's our 20th anniversary, and the guy beside me is like, hey, I know you. You're that Greg Locke guy. Everywhere I go, people are sharing these videos.
Yes, sir.
And, they'll just break down crying in restaurants, and they're like, you just don't know what that video did. Thank you for your boldness. And really, it's extraordinarily rewarding to know that God's given us that voice and given us that platform. So I don't know where it's going to go, but hey, the sky's the limit. Our page grew on Facebook last June, so it's not even been a year. We went from 4,000 followers to 760,000 followers in less than a year. So I have no idea what God's trying to do. I'm just holding on for the ride and enjoying it while I can.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic. Are you familiar with a guy by the name of Joe White by any chance? Up around Branson, Missouri?
I don't believe so.
I need to hook you two guys up. He's an old friend of mine, and you would have a lot to talk about and in common. But I'll make sure that I do that. I'll get you a message on your Facebook or something like that. I'm extreme. And by the way, I didn't want to interrupt you, but congratulations on your 20th. That's a big deal. And tell your wife congratulations to her
I
too.
sure will. Thank you so much.
I know you are where you are partially because of her support. So
indeed, no doubt.
as well as Mama's, I get that. So what else would you like for the? And by the way, to clarify, I'm really glad that you helped make the distinction of what your ministry is about and where it's based versus the comparison that I made. The only reason I made the comparison was somewhat the technology approach that you're using,
Yes, exactly.
to broaden your audience, as well as the enthusiastic approach with which you deliver your message. So
Right,
those were only the two those were the only parallels I could figure to pick out.
Sure, I got you.
When it comes to politics, which I know is something that you're very reluctant to talk about, I'm a real constitutionalist. I am by the book, by the word, even sometimes when I don't like what it's telling me.
Sure.
And there are times when it's like what I'd really like to do. I kind of get hung up if I go back to the written word of the Constitution. And I bet that happens to the same way with you in terms of the Bible. So to hear that you say that you are, you adhere to the Scriptures, that's soothing to me. And I guess that's what it is about your message that resonates so well.
I think so, and I think that's kind of what I call the magic sauce, because I think what people are looking for is
you make me grin, Eric. I wish I could. We got to do one of these on Skype where we can see.
Yeah,
I can see you moving around. You can see my reaction because some of yours you just make me grin. You're so real. You're absolutely like having a conversation with one of the guys. And now go ahead back to your magic sauce comment.
And I think that's it. Being real and being genuine, vulnerable, and authentic.
Yep.
I think that's why people like the page so much.
Yep.
Because here's this guy. He's not only saying what everybody wants to say, but he's putting a biblical perspective. It's common sense. It's down to earth, and it's not some made up, fictitious, deepen your voice and try to be spiritual. People want just a simple, common sense approach to the Bible. And when we figured that out and just started making these videos, and they're all just so extemporaneous. I mean, you can tell when I go on a rant to Target or whatever, I just pull out the phone and I just go for it. It's a one and done deal, man. There's no teleprompter. I'm just going after it. And people like that. They resonate with that because it's just so raw and it's so real.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to change that about the page. I think that's why people like my personality because of that. And so now, because we do have such a big platform, I can tell when I get around people, they'll pick me up at the airport, they'll be real nervous. And I'm like, listen, I put my socks on one foot at a time, just like you, dude. Okay, I'm gonna be as real and down to earth. I'm not some uppity dude. You ain't got to change anything around me. I'm gonna show up, preach in my blue jeans, and go home.
Right. Oh, I wouldn't feel that way at all. But I think my comfort with you might come from my age.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. When you get up to where I am, there's not a whole lot that.
I got you.
Kind of throws you off of your kilter.
Sure. And what's so interesting, even about your age, is our church now, it's always been filled with, people my age, 40 years old, 35. Right. That's kind of the median age. But Facebook, interestingly enough, has driven so much of the older crowd to our congregation because they love my vibrance, they love my excitement, but they love the depth of what I'm saying. They love the Bible truth. And I tell people I'm the youngest old school dude you will ever meet. When I was on Fox News a couple of weeks ago, I told him, I said, man, sometimes I open my mouth and my grandfather walks out. And so that's just who I am. I love that generation because your generation was so common sense and you fought for things that you believe and you would die for it. And we've lost that. The millennial generation is sissified. Everybody gets a participation trophy for showing up. And that's ridiculous.
It was beat out of you.
We've taken
it's not your fault.
I mean, the fight out of people.
Right. It literally the certain members of my generation took the fight out of you, and not you, but out of your group.
Yeah, I got you.
And there were those of us that in my generation that were fighting them, saying that's the wrong thing to do. Let the boy swing without a helmet.
Let him ride in the back of the truck a couple times.
Hey, next time he'll understand what Daddy meant when he said, "Hold on."
Yeah, exactly. Everything today is so politically correct, and everybody's got to be pandered to. And so, I just get out there and say it, and I think that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it just works.
It absolutely works. I wanted to do about 15 or 20 minutes, and it's absolutely solid gold. Pastor Greg, I don't want, and I certainly don't want to interrupt your 20th anniversary any longer. You need to get on with that. I really appreciate your time. I would love the opportunity to meet you, and if I get your way, I'll take it. Keep up the good work, man. It's very, very impressive.
Thank you very much. And Lord willing, we'll get down your way and we'll get up for some coffee. But I'd love to be back on the program sometime. So thank you so much for following the page.
I appreciate it, Pastor Greg. God bless, man. See you soon.
God bless you, my friend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 877-212-5898. Again, 877-212-5898. That's 877-212-5898. 877-212-5898.
Howdy, folks. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. Welcome back or welcome aboard. Hopefully you are being welcomed back after our brief little advertisement there, and you had a chance to enjoy the conversation that I had with Pastor Greg Locke. You can expect to hear from him again, and I would highly recommend going out to his YouTube channel. It's Locke, and subscribing to his YouTube channel, because he is constantly putting stuff up there, little snippets of this and snippets of that, and I just kind of like, it's not that I just like what he has to say, it's that I like how he says it. It is very direct, and he can get into a biblical discussion chapter and verse with the best of them. So where he's coming from is not just sort of a personality thing, as you heard in the interview when I talked to him about Joel Osteen and the comparison between the two. I thought his response was excellent. Mm-hmm. I completely understood where he was coming from. Let's talk a little bit about our two presumptive presidential candidates. Folks, we are in for one heck of a show. And now we got King Kahuna coming down on the side of, I guess that was racist, coming down on the side of Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. Okay, Barack has come out. He's chomping at the bit to get out there and take Donald Trump to task, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be, this is going to be a fight to the finish. Oh. So let's talk about a couple of things in the news and see if that sparks either Uncle Bocce or Mr. Surefire. Ms. Surefire. Mr. Never mind. Hello. There's a report that Trump refused $200 million to pick Gingrich as his vice president. Okay? Interesting part about this is the mainstream media reported that casino magnate Sheldon Adelson, Vegas guy I think, was willing to contribute $100 million to Trump's campaign. But what wasn't reported was the additional $200 million the establishment offered Trump in exchange for picking Gingrich as his vice president. It is very much in Trump's best interest to pick someone close to him ideologically as vice president, such as Senator Jeff Sessions, that he's had a lot of conversations with, the Republican out of Alabama. And this article says to avoid potential assassination attempts. Case in point, Ronald Reagan was nearly assassinated after only serving 69 days in office, and after the establishment forced him to take George H.W. Bush as his VP. So if Reagan died in the attack, the elite would have taken back the Oval Office, but even though Reagan survived, the establishment still gained influence over him, with Vice President Bush serving as a constant reminder to stay in line.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Trump, they don't report that. They don't report the fact that Trump turned it down. So, they're constantly trying to, behind the scenes, they're
Get
telling us
influence.
we all need to unite, we all need to do this, we all need to do that. But when it comes to the bar rooms and exactly what our friend from Amerigeddon was telling us about the bar rooms and the back rooms and all the deals that go on and the ugliness, the ugly side of politics, which his co-author of the movie is very familiar with because he is a Donald Trump type guy in terms of billionaire. So politicians were constantly smooshing him, trying to get his money. Here's an article that starts out with, does Hillary Clinton have her own college problem? As you know, there's been a lot in the news about Donald Trump and Trump University and him coming out, against saying that the judge was prejudiced, et cetera, et cetera. First of all, and he got chided immediately for the lack of polish, the lack of political correctness in his statement about the judge, right? I would submit to you it's extremely difficult to be politically correct in 140 characters, which is the Twitter limit. So Trump are trained to throw it out there in 140 characters. Or somebody with him. Let's put it that way. I mean, he's a master of the Twitterverse. That's been driving of the social media and mostly Twitter. That's been driving his momentum and his force since he got into this thing, and it's taken everybody else off guard because he's so good at it. Right? He can throw 140 characters out there, and the news media talks about it for days. And that's all he had to do was go, and they're just all over it. Well, that's what he did with this Mexican American judge, all right? And I'm not talking out of school because the judge refers to himself as a Mexican American. I will also, let me submit to you a little personal experience. First of all, most of you know this show is broadcast from San Antonio, Texas, all right? If you don't know anything about San Antonio, Texas, let me help you. We got a bunch of Mexican Americans, all right? More than our fair share. That's fine. I will take any one of them to task that refers to themselves as a Mexican American. But if they put the Mexican part first, I've done it. I will continue to do it, and I will support Mr. Trump for doing it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're and it turns out Trump was right. I mean, this judge is affiliated with La Raza, which, if you're not familiar with that, please Google it. You should be. It is a highly dissident, Mexico-supporting anarchist group trying to overthrow the United States, or at least a portion of it, and take it back in the name of Mexico. I mean, these guys are just out and out anarchists. That's all there is to it. Personal experience, I was at a project management meeting one night, and it sort of came up in the conversation about somebody speaking Spanish. And it was brought out the fact that I do not speak Spanish, all right? Very well. Don't let it fool you. I can get around. So, but there was a lady at the table that did her best to pick a fight with me because I didn't support Spanish-speaking individuals. I didn't take the bait, which is unusual for me, but I didn't take the bait. I didn't get into it with her, but that was the whole gist of her coming at me if I had a problem with Spanish and I blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, kind of like an instigator. She was an instigator.
Instigator.
Yeah, she was.
You know, if you listen to the Doc Owen show before certain rules and regulations were put in place, you know that one of my favorite songs is by one of my favorite groups, used to be, Madison Rising. And it's the name of the song is Before the Hyphens Came. All right?
Yeah.
Mexican American, Black American, Asian American, anything in front of and then dash American, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go for it. It's wrong. If I went for it, here's what I would tell you. My last name is Owen. If you're not familiar with that, that's Welch. And if you don't know what that means that I am from Wales. My family is from Wales. Do you know where the royal family of Great Britain is from? Wales. So I'm royalty. All of you butt off. But I don't do that. I mean, I'm an American. We don't play that card.
Crawford is Scottish.
Okay, there you go. We don't play. You don't refer to yourself as an Italian American, do you?
No, sir. And my grandparents didn't either.
Exactly, and they truly were. I mean, they're the ones. They're the ones that came here.
Exactly.
We're Americans. Period.
Trump may not have been very eloquent about it, and as the truth has begun to come out, he was absolutely correct in his statement. So, I just sort of throw my hands up in the air. That crap has just got to go. It has no place in the United States. It really doesn't.
It divides us. It doesn't unite us.
That's right.
I mean, if you want to call yourself an American of X heritage, or just put America first. That's all this country has ever asked of all of the people that we've ever taken in. Just put this country first. That's
right.
I mean, I just don't think it's a lot to ask. So that kind of took care of a couple of things that I wanted to talk about Trump. Oh, one more thing, and then I'll delve into the Democrat side of the House, the race. Are you aware of how they put together the Trump protesters that have been following Trump around? They were out in California, et cetera, et cetera. They're protesting loudly and actually violently at these. You're not aware of that?
No, I mean, yes, but I'm just saying, what's the message? Go ahead. Just continue on.
What do you think the message is?
I just think it's pure violence. They're just out to have a good time. I don't think that I don't think they're anti-Trump. I think they're anti-American.
Let me tell you
Okay,
how right
please do.
How right you may be.
Okay.
All right. Craigslist. An advertisement on Craigslist. Where else can you find a perfect condition, low mileage AMC Pacer, or a couch with several taco stains, or women who will go out with you if you give them 500 reasons, and all in the same place? Craigslist, right? It's just all about advertising. So what does that have to do with protesters? Here's an ad. To whom it may concern, we will pay $15 an hour plus travel, including room and board, clothing, flags, signs, etc., for individuals willing to disrupt Trump rallies throughout the U.S. It was an ad in Craigslist. If interested, please leave your name and a contact number. Of course, there's no guarantee this is a legitimate advertisement, as many of the protesters seem to be too emotionally involved to be merely there for the hourly wage. But it tends to support what Uncle Bocce is saying, that there's a lot of them that they're not there to protest. They're just, beating up on folks is having a good time to them. So let's say that, whoever's doing the recruiting is looking for particular types of individuals, right?
And do you have any clue who is actually behind that?
I do not,
Okay.
but I am watching my alternate channel news feeds to figure that out.
Yeah.
I would. Craigslist doesn't charge anything for the advertising, but there are suspicions or maybe a little better than that, that George Soros funded organizations are paying the $15 an hour. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I doubt that there's a direct link to another candidate, but I mean, there are people in the media that are calling out via their big voice in the media for open protest of any and every Trump rally to keep him from being elected. You know what happens on a personal basis when somebody gets really, really mad about a situation? That means the other person has hit a chord.
Exactly.
Just hit a hot button, hit something that causes that reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Trump doing that.
Yes.
He's hitting chords and So I'm giving this as background for the fact that this run up to November is not going to be a cakewalk for anybody. It's going to be.
It's a bloodbath.
It's gonna. There may be some of that too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be airing an awful lot of United States dirty laundry.
And Trump's giving a major speech
on Monday.
Is that Monday?
That's what he said. I think
that's going to expose.
He said
the
probably.
Clintons.
Probably on Monday.
Okay.
I remember that because he always puts his words out of the correct order.
Yeah. That's what I'm concerned about. Is this this whole election is going to be nothing about. It's going to be nothing about issues.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's going to be back and forth of who's better, who's dirtier than the other. So
not the real reason why they run for president.
But I have something in the back of my mind that's telling me that Trump knows exactly what he's doing. Like the other day when he really put the press in their place and he called the guy a sleaze. Now, I don't like calling people names, but I'm telling you, he was telling them that they are not truthful. And somebody's got to do that to the media. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's going to be part of his campaign or not.
I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's going to be part of his campaign, but I think he's going to recognize a setup or an attempt to undermine his true message in a heartbeat. He's not going to stand for any of that. Mm-hmm. That's when he'll call him out. I mean, we already know he's that kind of a guy, right? Mm-hmm. He's not exactly bashful when it comes to that. I wanted very briefly to talk about the presumptive Democrat candidate, which, as she is, everybody's jumping up and down and clapping, and it's the first woman ever to represent a major party for president of the United States. Mm-hmm. And, that's a very big deal. End of statement. It's probably a bigger deal than we all know. I said earlier that Hillary Clinton may have her own college problem. It seems that if you're not familiar, Bill Clinton made $16 million working with laureate international universities beginning in late April of 2010, and they wound up getting over $500 million in grants from the State Department. Way up from, it's an international organization. So they put $16 million into the Clinton Foundation and got back over $500 million in return. Or better yet, they were given $500 million of our tax dollars, and $16 million of that was then donated to the Clinton Foundation. Amazing. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get really ugly. We are, I hate belaboring all that. There's no way in attempting to deliver truth to youth to not get involved, to not say something about it,
exactly,
to not give factual information, because you are not going to get it on mainstream. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.